like me. If you're are more into serious history, there's a lot in there for you too. There's techniques and for instance, like going down the Santa Fe Trail, how to hitch a mule team, how to take care of teams, wagons, and hauling freight. Things that you normally wouldn't see in detail in a book, a history book. You could find it here.
Very wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Kendall. And once again, for the audience, Gone to Kansas, 1856 is available now. You can find it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. It comes in paperback versions and ebook versions as well. Thank you so much, Kendall, for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
I am here today with author Kenesha Myrie. Thank you so much, Kenesha, for joining us today. She is the author of the newly released book, The Bottom Line. Kenesha, why don't you just start by telling us a little bit about your book?
Well, my book is an anthology based on 10 different women from 10 different walks of life who, some way, somehow, end up in the strip club. Some make it out in good graces while others get swallowed up by the game. Sex, drugs, greed, and envy is all a part of this crazy game beyond the pole. But through all the BS, the money is the bottom line.
And where did this inspiration for your book come from?
Well, I was an exotic dancer for about 10 years. And a lot of my book is based on things that I've seen, things that I've been through, or that I've had co-workers go through. And I just felt like being an exotic entertainer, people have they put a stigma up against them, not knowing that some women have no choice. And some women do have a choice, but they just, they go into it with a goal. So I just felt like instead of people dehumanizing strippers, I wanted to be a voice for the exotic dancers.
That is wonderful. And also, if you were to, tell the audience today one thing about your book, or a couple, whatever you'd like, what would those things be?
My book is very, it's very authentic. It's very raw. It's very gritty. I don't commercialize it. Like, a woman can read my book and really learn from it, and this is any woman, as far as having strength or, making quick decisions, last minute decisions. My book it's very good. And I'm not just saying that because I wrote it. There's a lot you can take away from my book.
Well, thank you so much, Kenesha, for joining us today. Once again, her book is out now. It's called The Bottom Line. You can purchase it through Amazon, Barnes & Noble. It comes in paperback versions and ebook versions as well. Thank you so much, Kenesha.
Thank you.
I am here today with author Martha Black. She is the author of the newly released book, Little Missy. Thank you so much for joining us today, Martha. Why don't you just start by telling us a little bit about your book?
Okay, Little Missy is about a girl who has Guillain-Barré syndrome. And I was looking for something from my doctor. I asked him for somebody who would get a three diseases of somebody who would be in bed for a long time but would get over it. And so he gave me the three, and I researched through all, and I chose Little Missy. And so Little Missy had been in bed for several months, and she's in deep depression and just in bad shape. Her father, his wife had died at the Brady sold him for a zoo. And so he asked her, what can he do to help? That I need somebody to spend time with me, lots of time. And so he said, I will move heaven and earth to make them happen. And so he does that. And so then Sammy comes into the picture. And I saw her door one day and just opened the door without waiting for it. Goes over and jumps up on her bed and says, I'm here to get you out of bed. And so she's kind of shocked, of course. And she reached the after, how are you going to do that? And she says, I'm going to do it with miracles, lots of miracles. And so that's kind of what the book is about. It starts with her making where she's just like in a great big hole of darkness and depression. And Sammy is such a joy. And she's like a joy-filled slave driver who gives her all these miracles that she has to work her way through. And so it's like she comes up, out of that Joe mountain, and at the top of the mountain is hope. And so that's where she goes. The miracles are very simple, but it changes Little Missy's life. And the first miracle, that she had her bed moved over by a window, threw back the curtains, opened up the window, and fresh air made her breathe fresh air several times a day. The second miracle was also just very simple. It was a miracle of observation. And she said, look out the window, tell me what you see. So I see grass and trees and stuff. That's all I see. No, and so she made her understand that she had to see everything that she could see. And what they did, it began to change Little Missy's brain from all this depression. She had something that was working, to change her. And so it actually began out of this deep valley, it gradually up to a mountain of hope. And relationship, girl, amazing, to form, because the first conversation we had after she jumped up on her bed, very, very awkward, because Little Missy had heard the nurse and our housekeeper gossiping about Sammy and her family. And so when they got through that, that's when they really began to bond. And it just became, it was just such a deep closeness in them. And Little Missy was just, she just, her father kept raving about, I can't believe the different you before she came and, now, and they would process it all. And so it was just really amazing. Although the miracle were huge, although you see with the miracle exercise and miracle of love, and one day she was supposed to get a big miracle and it rained and she didn't get it, and so they get miracle patience. Just things like that. And then the big miracle was moving in a wheelchair. Well, then her chariot, they called that her chariot, where they went all over everywhere in her chariot. And anyway, and then the last miracle, and so she doesn't actually walking on her own land in the book, but she's walking on parallel bars. Well, that's one of the miracles.
And what was the inspiration behind, putting pen to paper and getting this book published?
Well, that's not hard for me to say, because I really do feel like what I do comes from the Lord. And I just got this idea in my head, about doing a book by somebody who was in bed for a long time. And, then she got out of bed. And so that was kind of, it's not like I feel like it dictates the book to me, it's not that at all. And this is the only show I've done, lots of children. This is the only children's book I've done that was chapter. And I literally know from a chapter to the next what it was going to be. But it was just like it, just evolved. And I never felt, I never, ever have felt, writer's block. I struggle with spelling. I struggle with sentence structure. Not the story. The story always, once I put my fingers on the keys, it's like that, it just flows. It flows out some paper.
Wow, that's amazing. And if you were, to tell your audience one thing about your book that you really want them to understand about it, what would that be?
I think probably that would be to find hope. Because no matter how deep and dark your situation seems, when there's hope, you've got something to fight for. You've got something to get up out of the bed for, you wake up in the morning for. And I think that's so important. And I think children, this is a preaching book. And I think children need to know that no matter what the situation is, there's a way out. And it takes patience and working. But maybe their miracles will come in the wrong way. Things like little Missy did. But it's that's kind of what I want to get out of it. I want to see it in different. I took the book. I told you I was a doctor. I took the book to the doctor after I finished, and he read it, and he wrote down a one word. It was a big long word. I think it started with an F. Now he can't remember what it is. I can't remember what it is. But when I looked it up, it meant it could have happened just that way. So, all right.
Well, thank you so much, Martha, for joining us. And this is truly a book of hope and inspiration. And Little Missy is out now, ready for purchase. You can find it on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. It comes in paperback and ebook versions. Thank you so much, Martha, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
I am here with author Glenn R. Thompson. He is the author of the newly released book, Have Faith in God, but Believe in the Devil. Thank you so much, Glenn, for joining us today. And why don't you just start by telling us a little bit about your book?
I started writing the book years and years ago, and I kept putting it off. And I was fully involved with racehorses, and I kept putting it off. And a couple of years ago, God let me know that it was time to finish the book. He was sort of stern about it, to say the least. But the book, I want people to understand. You talk to a lot of people, and they say that they believe in God. And then later on, you mention Jesus Christ, and they waver a little bit. And I think that the book is focused on Jesus Christ and the importance of involving him in your life. I feel it was God's plan. I mean, he set it up a couple thousand years ago. It was his idea and his plan to have Christ go through what he went through. And when he went through that, God gave Christ the key to heaven. He wants people to respect and honor what he went through and what he endured for everybody. And he wants people just, to have him join their family and be part of their life. I draw a little bit of a comparison where, if you went to work for a company, and the CEO of this company handed you a pamphlet or a booklet and said, "Hey, this is our program, and this is my plan. This is how I want to do things." And you go home and you look at the pamphlet and you look at, well, I can do this better. I can, I can change this or I can change that and make things better. But the CEO gets word of your changes and your ideas that you don't want to follow his plan. What do you think he's going to do? I mean, he's going to fire you. So I think it's really important that people get on base with the plan. And it's not that hard to follow. It's not that hard to invite Christ into your life. It's a great thing. I also want to touch base.
Yes.
The devil is very clever. He's got people believing that he doesn't exist. He's got people embarrassed to say that he exists. The churches these days hardly ever mention evil or the devil. They want to keep everybody happy and keep the money coming in, which is, kind of sad, because if I was a preacher, one of the most important things I would try to get across was the devil is evil, and he wants you on his team. And if you don't follow God's plan and Jesus Christ, by default, you are on his team. So, in the book, I kind of laid out ways that you could identify some of these people, because devil children, there's millions of them out there, and their intentions are not good. They're not looking to do good things in your life. They're looking to destroy your life. But they're clever. They're subtle and clever. And I try to give people ways to pick up on things that help them identify some of these people. Jesus said in the Bible that your enemy might be sitting across the table from you at dinner, and mentioned hell many, many times, and mentioned the devil many times. And that sort of means that your mother, father, brother, son, daughter, sister, any one of those people could be your enemy. So things get tricky. So that'll start this conversation off. Sorry, I was so long-winded.
No, absolutely. And I know that this is not your first book that you've had published. Why don't you kind of tell us a little bit about your first one, which is, the testimony before Congress?
Yeah, I train racehorses for a living, and always have. I've always loved horses, and just really, really enjoy my job. Yeah, we're walking down to the barn, and I'm going to introduce you to my two horses. We have first here, Power and Glory. Now, Power and Glory ran at Aqueduct last year, and had a really, really nice third the last time she ran. And she's 5 years old, and I bought her out of a sale in Maryland a while back, and hoping that she's going to have a really good year. And I think she's going to have a really good year this year. And
oh yeah, she's like, yes, I am.
Yep, she was affirming that. And speaking of Christ's return, over here we have Judgment Time. And Judgment Time won a race last year and had like 4 thirds. And also, I think she's going to have a really nice year this year.
Oh, they are so beautiful.
What? Did you shake your head? No? What was that? She shook yes. We're getting the yes now. Yeah. So, I love horses. Ever since I was a little kid, I've loved them. I feel really blessed. I think I own them both, but I actually don't consider that I own them. God owns them. I work for God. And a culture had taken over the racing game, and it was embedded, from before I even started. I mean, if you had a horse racing, you give them what it takes to get them to that race in the best form possible, which meant illegal drugs. And security, the racetracks, everybody just turned a blind eye. They didn't want to know, they didn't want to address it, they just let it slide. And a group of really good horsemen, a senator, they invited me to join them, and I was really honored to join them because these were individuals way above my pay grade. And we testified before Congress and, tried to make a difference with the horse racing. And I do believe we've made a difference because a lot of things that were brought up were changed. A lot of the changes that needed to be done were done. And I feel really good about that. But that was definitely a joint effort. And it was good. It was a good thing.
And back to, have faith in God, but believe in the devil. Where did the inspiration come behind this book? Why did you put pen to paper and get this one published as well?
Sort of like what I mentioned before, that, like the devil's not mentioned. I mean, he's, if you mention him, people look at you like you're a little crazy. And he's got that well planned out. I mean, he put a lot of thought behind that. And I wanted to get it out there that there are millions of devil children out there, and they will try to trip you up. They in the Bible, there's a quote that they don't eat unless they cause problems. So it just I really wanted to help people realize that that's very, very true. Help them identify these individuals. And I want you to know that I also feel really bad for these, for devil children of the devil or whatever. In the Bible, they say many, many people are blocked from knowing the truth. And I feel those people that are blocked are children of the devil. And I don't like that. That's not a fair shake. You guys do not have a fair shake because you're blocked. But you do have an avenue to escape. If you do what I said, if you follow Christ, if you invite him into your family, if you ask God to forgive you your mistakes, the mistakes you've made over the years, the second you do that, the devil has no more control over your life. His contract with you is null and void. And I can't encourage you people enough to do that. It's really, really important. And, I hope that my book gets that across in a really, really strong way. And I hope it helps the devil children as well as unknowns, people that aren't sure where they're going, where they are right now with their faith. And I hope it helps Christians.
And if you were to, just say one thing about your book that you really want to get across to your audience, what do you think that would be?
Faith is really, really important. There's a chapter in the book about the return of Jesus Christ and gives a time frame, not a date, but a time frame, and it's not far down the road. The world right now is really, really evil. I mean, every television show you turn on, it's worse and worse and worse. One of those award shows, there was this song that was just vile. It was, it was really, really bad. I don't remember which show it was, but it was pretty bad. I mean, the devil's getting in our face more and more now. And the reason he's doing that is time is short. So I would really encourage people to read my book and think sincerely, about what I'm trying to get across. In the book at the top, Christ in the Bible has red letters, and those are sayings of his. Those are quotes of his. And at the top of each chapter, there's a quote from Christ. And he was a special man. I mean, time was named after him. Before Christ, after death, he was the most studied man in history, and everything that he did even with his dying breath, asking God to forgive the people that hung him up there is special. So I think if you follow him and invite him into your family, there's nothing going. I mean, you need to do that. There's nothing wrong with doing that. Don't be embarrassed to stand up for a man that was unbelievably special, and he deserves us asking him to step into his family.
Thank you so much, Glenn. And for the audience today, his wonderful book, Have Faith in God, Believe in the Devil, is out right now. You can purchase it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Apple iTunes. It comes in paperback versions and ebook as well. Thank you so much, Glenn, for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having me. I enjoyed it.